Hi everyone, it's Jim from BubBuyJunk.com. I want to be really clear and upfront about the reason why my wife and I started Bub Buy Junk, a full-service junk removal company in southeastern Massachusetts. And that reason started in late July 2017. See, that's when my father was diagnosed with brain cancer. At the time, he was 64 years old and he was working full-time as a paramedic. The day before his MRI, he worked a 24-hour shift in Plymouth, Massachusetts, drove himself to the hospital to get an MRI, a scheduled MRI done, because he was feeling a little off balance. And that was the last time he drove. I drove his car from the hospital home, and he was transferred to another hospital in Providence, where they took excellent care of him. But he was diagnosed with brain cancer and was really unable to walk without help and definitely unable to drive after the brain biopsy. So, my father was sort of an inventor and a collector of old things, from agricultural implements and tractors, just about anything. He could weld, he could build with wood. In fact, this barn behind me is something that he built almost exclusively on his own. I did help for a few things, and some friends came over to put the roof trusses on. I'll show you that a little bit later. But the reason I'm coming at you from this angle is to talk about some of the tough decisions that need to be made during an estate cleanout, and I'm speaking from personal experience. In this pile of weeds is a 50-inch wide snowblower that my father was in the middle of making and adapting to fit on into an antique tractor called a Farmall Cub mine's from 1950. And we never really had a reason for a 50-inch wide snowblower, and he never finished it. He kind of came to that realization himself. This is quite a few years ago. So it was parked back here, and now the weeds have kind of grown over it. And it's been one of the really, this is an example of one of the really tough things that I've had to make a decision about. But the decision is that it's not worth anything sitting in the weeds, and it's not worth much to anyone else. And I have a lot of other projects my father's made that are working that I use pretty frequently. So this is going to have to be one of the things that I get rid of. The way I'm going to get rid of it is I've got a Kubota tractor with a front end loader. I'm going to hook up a chain, pick it up, and we're going to bring it to the recycling yard. Yeah, it's just the way things are. We can't keep anything, and I don't have any space at my house for this. And my driveway is so small that a walk-behind snowblower really makes a lot more sense than, and that's probably overkill, than this does. But I've talked to all of my family. Nobody really wants it or needs it, so it's time for it to go. father was a farmer. He grew up on a farm here in Dartmouth, Massachusetts, and then bought a farm when he got married in late 79, early 1980 in upstate New York. It's about 300 acres. There's a dairy farm. And he wouldn't claim to be a professional welder, but he was able to weld things that would need repairs on either farm. But his favorite thing for sure was inventing stuff. So all around his house here, he has piles of scrap metal and scrap pieces and things that he could harvest from when it was time for him to create an invention. And this snowblower is a perfect example of the kind of thing he'd come up with. We originally saw this at a friend's house, also owns Farmall Cubs up in Dartmouth, Mass. And my father asked him some questions about it, but it took a couple years for the gears to turn. Then he decided he was going to build this frame and hook it up to a second engine so that it wouldn't be hooked up to the drivetrain of the Cub. I'm going to show my son what my father, his grandfather, was up to. We're going to pull these vines off. Why don't you come into the frame, Ethan?
Hi!
And so this is my son, Ethan. He's 7.5 years old. He's going to help me take some of these vines off and see what Grandpa Bob was up to. So here's what we're looking at. This piece here is the original snowblower that would have mounted to some other different tractor. And then this whole frame was built by my father to hook up to a Farmall Cub. These would fit into the final drives in the back of the Cub. And he wanted to have a way to start up and shut down the snowblower from on top of the Cub. And since it was running on a separate engine, it needed to have its own separate clutch. So he rigged this up. It's frozen now, but he rigged this up with a cable that goes up to house and had its own raising lifting mechanism. And then to turn the chute, he rigged this up. This was going to be hooked up at the time of use, and you could turn this, which would in turn turn the chute on the front. What was going to be great about this is most tractor-mounted snowblowers are run on a PTO behind the operator, and your neck needs to be turned around, and this would have been able to be run in front of you. Quite a thing. Here's a step he built. The Farmall Cubs is kind of a tricky tractor to get on top of, so he built that step to get on there. And here is where the motor would have mounted, right on there. We had a couple. I assume this one was harvested for some other project. Unfortunately, this is going to get scrapped, but this is a way for us to kind of remember what my father was up to. This is one of literally thousands of projects that he did. So in the background behind that snowblower is this cart here. This is something my father put together. It was the chassis and an axle that was put together by someone else for an electric cement mixer. And a number of cement projects here and concrete projects here. When those are done, he harvested the electric motor for a different project to be used at a nonprofit fair we volunteer at, and took the chassis and the axle and made this little trailer car. It's just about the right size for a Farmall Cub. Obviously, it doesn't have brakes, and antique tractors are notorious for barely having adequate brakes to stop the tractor. So you couldn't go too crazy with this, but it was nice for around the yard, picking up leaves, and especially giving wagon rides to his grandchildren and neighbors and friends. Any party we had here, he was well known to have a train of carts behind him, and this would be one of those. This, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to keep this, or one of my brothers. I won't let this go, because we have so many great memories of this. In fact, Ethan, when he was a baby, he would have been in this or in one of the other carts. So I have to find a place for this cart, even though looking at it, there's not much there, but for me, it certainly is. That's why I completely understand with how difficult it can be to clean out a state, because I'm going through it myself, and it's been at least a year, maybe closer to 18 months, and it's just a step-by-step process. Yep. So now we're inside the workshop, my father's workshop, and this is where he would work all through the year, summer, winter, whenever he wasn't working his normal job. And in the winter, he would take on engine projects like this. Now, I have no idea if this engine could be saved. It looks like maybe a 10 to 12 horsepower Kohler from a Cub Cadet. I have no idea if could be saved, or if he diagnosed it as it couldn't be saved and it just sat here. But the thing is, we've got, I believe, 12 to 15 Cub Cadet tractors in various states of repair and disrepair, and parts of some have been harvested to make others work. Winter tractors used for snow plowing in the winter might donate parts to summer tractors in the summer for lawn mowing and other chores. So I'm pretty confident that this engine can't be saved. Even if it can, I've just got way too many projects, and I've had this posted up on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist for a while, and it's just not going. So not a lot of sentimental value here, so this is an example of something that's pretty easy just to get rid of. And if someone at the scrapyard picks this up and they make it run, more power to them. But like I said, I've tried to sell it, it hasn't worked out, so I'm going to move on to bigger and better things. There's a couple engines here, we're going to load them up into the tractor and then into the truck.
Stay tuned, my dad does a lot of good videos.
How does one person eat an elephant? One bite at a time. This isn't a huge load, but when I'm not working my full-time job or my part-time job with Bye-Bye Junk, I'm here at my father's house cleaning out the estate, doing the best I can. And today this is going to be it. A few pieces of metal. The recycling yard is one way and the dump is the other way. So I try to break these things up and do whatever I can when I can. And that's my advice to you, is if you have an estate or a huge basement you want to clean out, or an attic or a barn, do little by little when you can, fit it in. And then when it gets to be a lot, hire a dumpster, or even better, use a full-service junk removal service. They'll come in and do most of the heavy lifting for you once you've got all straightened out. And the cost really isn't much different than a dumpster, and you don't have to have an ugly dumpster in your driveway. So, this is what I've got for today. Yeah, Ethan's going to come along. Hopefully he's learned a little something about working, and maybe a little something about his grandfather as well. Thanks very much. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. And if you want to know any information about my full-service junk removal business, go to buybuyjunk.com. That's buybuyjunk.com. My name is Jim. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.
My name is Ethan, and if you want more information, just go to buybuyjunk.com. Bye-bye. Buybuyjunk.com.